We live in such a time where our children do not know who they are. They do not
Mhm.
understand whose they are. And so, as parents, this is our duty, our responsibility to teach them these things. Remember, we are their first teacher, we are their first mentor.
Repetition is very important. So the more you tell yourself it, you start to believe it and see it, and then you start to exhibit it in your behavior and actions and things that you do. I've heard a lot of parents or even adults that purchased a book for themselves came to me and said, I wish there was books like this around when I was a child.
Hi everyone, Teresa here, Faith in Sparkle's World, and welcome to another episode of the Conscious Leader podcast, where I interview guests who are consciously leading in their industry. Today, I have another very, very, very special guest. Her name is Tricia Khan, and she is an exceptional children's author. Why is she exceptional? And, there's all of these authors out there. Well, because her work also is her advocacy. And she is here to empower your children. She's teaching them how to lead. How can she teach children to lead? I wonder. Because she has her own children. And her children, she is guiding them effectively in leadership. We live in such a time where our children do not know who they are. They do not
Mhm.
understand whose they are. And so, as parents, this is our duty, our responsibility to teach them these things. Remember, we are their first teacher, we are their first mentor. And Trisha is not only just supporting parents and encouraging their children in this way of self acceptance and loving oneself, but she's doing it in her home with her children so that what she's preaching out there, she's practicing at home. So help me welcome our guest today, Trisha. Trisha, welcome. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. It's definitely a privilege to be here to be able to share my books, but also the what I am doing with my children. Not only my children, but how I'm able to advocate and encourage other children and family on how to be confident and how to basically be in control of themselves and their life.
Awesome. I love it. But before we get to any sort of real conversation, please share with the audience who you are, who you serve, and how you're positively influencing others.
Okay, so again, I am Tricia Khan. I am a mother to two wonderful children who are also very purposeful in what they do in the sense of activities and programs. And then I do have a wonderful husband who is very supportive. I'm also a children's book author. I assist other authors who are interested in writing and publishing. I also am a social service worker, so I help children with developmental disability, autism, and whatnot. And I serve as just basically to assist, help, and promote, educate, empower, and encourage others, children and adults, how to, navigate life in a more positive aspect.
Well, what you do is not easy. It takes a lot of emotional and spiritual strength, so that when you leave your workspace, you're not bringing burdens and stress with you in your home. Because then
Mhm.
you leave your workspace, you still have to be a wife to your husband, and you still have to be a mother to your children. And so you need to show up present
Mhm.
to do that. So that takes a lot to for anyone. And this is where the dynamic comes in. Why did you decide to go down this route, not only of becoming a children's book author, and of course being working in the social work industry, um, but this route of saying, I want to empower the next generation of young children, and it could be anyone, but particularly children of color, and you're saying, I want them to be able to learn to lead themselves. And I want to help parents and guide parents through my work. Why did you decide that?
So, as a parent, but mostly so as an individual myself, as a child, I remember my experiences that I faced, whether it was in school, whether it was building friendship, whether it was in my family dynamic. I had certain experiences that I did not really truly understand as a child. But me as an adult now and having my own two children and seeing the challenges that they faced in school with their peers, whether it's on a sport team or just in everyday life, seeing the challenges that they face and made me realize that this is something that I'm very passionate about, helping and supporting them on how to navigate the life that they're going through. For children, it's not easy because they're kind of forced into this world that they have, an unknown world that they don't even know anything about or what to do. And they're trying to kind of get in an understanding of how do I my emotions, how do I kind of harness that, but not really harness, but also be able to express it in a way that is respectful and kind, and how to tap into their own self. And so seeing my own children go through certain experiences brought me back to experiences that I went through as a child, and I realized that if I can make a difference or help my children overcome these challenges by giving them the baton and allowing them to problem solve and figure out ways how to get over this, then I can extend this on to any other kid. And so when I wrote my children's book, that is the purpose behind. My purpose behind my children's book is allowing children to have the opportunity to express themselves, but also solve their own problems. So figure out ways of overcoming the challenges that they're facing. And you know what? I've noticed that it helped my children. And so because I noticed it helped my children build confidence and build a sense of self-awareness, right? Then I knew that I can extend it. And once I extend it, then other children can see themselves on these pages and be able to make a difference in their lives and find out that they do have a purpose and they can make a change just by one simple act.
That's that's encouraging
Mm-hmm.
because you shared about your own PTSD experience. I know you didn't use that term, but the experience your children had took you to a traumatic experience that you had as a child, how many
Mm-hmm.
decades later? And you
Mm-hmm.
use that trauma, and it may or may not have been a trauma. I'm just using this word trauma to now say I'm going to take that step to heal because I thought I was healed. I thought I was whole, but
Mm-hmm.
really there's I I know that feeling. I understand what my young sons are is experiencing or going through. So let me heal in this other way.
Mm-hmm.
Many people are not looking at it from that perspective because many people are very selfish. And the reason why I say
Mm-hmm.
this, and people probably will be angry that I said that, the reason why people are selfish is because we're so focused on the I. What
Mm-hmm.
can I accomplish? What can I do? How can I live this? Oh, that's okay. These and we tend to. I'm just using general terms. People tend to say, "Oh well, they're children. They'll get over it. They're resilient." But you said no, no,
Mm-hmm.
because you're seeing children coming to you every single day, but not necessarily your own, but other children who have developmental disabilities, physical disabilities, autism, all of these things. You're seeing that they're coming with so much that you said something has got to change. And then now your heart is ignited with a passion and a fire and a purpose now evolved to help. Now you wrote this book. Your son, for those who don't may or may not know, inspired her first book. Uh, it's my hair, right? It's my hair.
There you go. It's my hair. I don't care.
I don't care. I didn't want to mess it up. That's what I was thinking of.
That's
It's my
okay.
hair, and I don't care. Um, how did he heal? How did he heal? And how, as a family, including you, your husband, and your eldest son, heal from this book? And the reason why I'm asking you this question is because the healing is never singular.
Mm-mm.
All right. So, how did you? How did your son heal? And as a family, how did you heal from the first book, It's My Hair, I Don't Care?
Okay, so naturally, he's a boy,
Yes.
and a lot of times when we would go out in public, there were comments that were made in regards to him either being a female because he had hair,
Mhm.
or comments in the sense of the texture and whatnot. My son, who loves his hair but didn't really understand his hair, sees a lot of kids with different type hair, if I may be specific, straight hair.
Mhm.
And so, we've gone through challenges where it came combing the hair. And while we're going through these challenges, it brought me back to a time when I, as a child, went through these challenges. But back then, we were permanent hairs. So
Mhm.
we were making our hair straighter,
Yeah.
right? To avoid the challenges and the struggles that we had to go through. And, it's also stemming systemically from a very deep rooted history of Black culture,
Mhm.
right? And, while doing my son's hair, he started not wanting his hair comb. He did not like it because he felt like there was a lot of struggle that came from getting it done. And that's what birthed It's My Hair, I Don't Care, because he ran off and literally said, It's my hair. I don't want to do it. I don't care. And so that birthed that story. Um, it was very important for me to reflect him on the pages, which is why I decided to go independently to publish this children's book, because I needed him to be reflected on each page. And I needed for every Black child to see themselves on these pages that have similar challenges. And so when I did this book, and as I was doing it, I had him in the whole process of getting the book done on how the girl should look and whatnot, right? And you know, after the book was written, we read the story over and over. I got his feedback on certain things in the book. The joy that came from him is what fueled my excitement to continue, publishing and letting it be seen to many other people, because he built a sense of confidence from it. He started loving his hair, and it happened in such a way where even he wanted to extend it beyond just inside of our home. He wanted for his friends at school to see it. And that is where I got my first opportunity to actually do a read in his classroom. And he was just so proud, so very excited. And it became to a point where he was like, he loved his hair. He didn't have an issue with his hair. He wanted me to comb it. We took time now. We figured out ways on how we were going to do it to make it be an enjoyable time, as opposed to a time where he felt more of a struggle. And, it's in the end where he was able to see, hey, there's a beauty that comes at the end of this entire process. And for myself, it caused me to think going back natural, to
Mhm.
which I did, right? And it caused my younger son to see how beautiful his curls are, to appreciate it to the point where this day he has now long hair, right? And it just built a sense of connection for us as a family, and knowing that we might have different hair curls, but we all have similar challenges. And so once we voice it and once we're able to work together, then, there's a beauty that comes in the end, and the sense of confidence that we all can get from just a simple hair routine.
Mhm. Well, it's not just a simple hair routine. It's a special bonding time. I
Hmm.
think many people don't recognize this with when it comes to black hair. We're not. It's a process, and we're not just doing our hair. I mean, the end result is to look beautiful. Obviously, it's an external beauty, but the
Hmm.
process, the time that it takes, that is that bonding time that you're
Yep.
spending with your mother initially when she's combing your hair every
Hmm.
Sunday. Or perhaps you're going to a hairdresser if she doesn't know how, if you're a young woman and they're braiding your hair for maybe, 30 days or 60 days to last longer, especially for the winter months. So it's protective. But at the same
Hmm.
time, they're there massaging your scalps once a week, or putting some oil in there to nourish the
It's
scalp.
a routine of it. Hmm.
Yes, yes. So the bonding piece is what really you've done. You created, and you've taken from the old, a tradition from the old that we all grew up with, um, and you brought it into the present, the now,
Mm-hmm.
with your own experience in your home so that your children and yourself can be like, you know what? Yes, I love me. Yes, I am beautiful. But it's not just beauty on the outside, even though yes, there's beauty on the outside, but that I love me.
Mm-hmm.
There are so many children who are missing the I love me because they can't love themselves, and they can't love themselves because they do not know who they
They
are.
are.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
And so your son ignited, just like the spark came. It was
Mm-hmm.
already there, but the spark came. Now you're in purpose. And so you continue writing other books. Please share with us your latest book before we get into how you're really impacting lives with others. But share with us your latest book.
So my latest book is The Fear in Me. The Fear in Me is basically where you have certain challenges or fears, inner self emotions, inner emotions and inner feelings that you go through on a daily basis that oftentimes people don't see or feel. And so the fear in me basically talks about those experiences that you're having that's holding you back from being able to achieve great things or even being able to step out of your comfort zone to do something that you actually like. So in the fear in me, it expresses a young boy whose name is Freddie, and he's basically wants to try so many great things, but because he's fearful of the what might happen, or he has a fear of the change or the new or the unknown, right, it causes him to hold back and not accomplish those goals. And then in the end he realizes that he's in control of these emotions actually don't control him,
Mhm.
these feelings don't control him, he's actually in total control. And as he begins to take little steps, because sometimes it takes baby steps, right? And as he begins to take these steps, the little fear decides to slowly get smaller and smaller. And the more we try things, is the more that fear of stepping out into the unknown becomes a smaller noise, a noise that you don't hear as much. And so Freddie basically continues to move on. And as he continues to move on and try new things and try the things that he's been afraid of, he starts to now realize that he can do these things, that he can accomplish whatever he puts his mind to, that the only thing that's holding him back is really himself. And if he steps out, then there's an opportunity where he can see all the wonderful things that he can do once he just releases that fear and step out into the new.
Mm. So we go from it's my hair, I don't care, and self
Hmm.
love to now,
Hmm.
now that you love yourself, things will pop up that will try to sabotage that, right? Our own
Hmm.
thinking, our own thoughts. Maybe we hear something and you got to face that fear. It's teaching you how to face the fear. So now you're mastering your emotions to a degree. There's different levels of mastery. Um,
Hmm.
and you're not afraid. You'll still
Yeah,
be a little afraid, but as you said, the fear shrinks now. It gets smaller and smaller and smaller instead of it being crippling or debilitating, because fear can do that. This is where the anxiety and such just comes out. I'm so afraid I can't like and it's hard because it stops not only children but adults from
exactly.
yeah stepping into their purpose, stepping into what they're meant to do, stepping into their abundance, stepping into loving themselves, and so on and so forth. With your series of books, you've been around, you're in pop ups, you're online, you're sharing this message. What is the feedback you've been receiving from your series of books from parents? I mean, of course, I know the children love it, but of course, at the end of the day, it's the parents who are buying the books, right, for their kids. Um, what is the feedback you've been receiving, and how has it helped the children or the families?
So a lot with my first book, the It's My Hair, I Don't Care. It's such a confidence building book, a book that literally a lot of kids can see themselves in.
Mhm.
And because of that, I've heard a lot of parents or even adults that purchased the book for themselves came to me and said, I wish there was books like this around when I was a child, because, they either had challenges themselves with loving themselves, right? Because a lot of times we lose our authentic self in the midst of our day-to-day life with friends and whatnot. We try to pick up what other people want for us or likes for us, right? So I've had where a parent literally said that she absolutely loves a book because it brings her back to her childhood when she was younger, and the challenges that she was facing, and it allowed her now to see the beauty, and that she wishes she had this book because it was a book that she needed to encourage her younger self, that she is beautiful, and that she can be herself no matter where she is or no matter what room she's in, that remaining her authentic self is what allows her to even grow, right? And then with the fear in me, I've had few parents come and say, I've bought this book and it allowed my child to now want to try new things, to try things that they've never tried before, right? And getting these feedback makes me realize that this is exactly what I am writing these books to do, to encourage parents, or to encourage children, that they're in control. And once they take control and, recognize those inner feelings that prevent them from conquering or doing whatever it is that they want to achieve, then they can pull through all things. They can problem solve. And then we wouldn't have, where now in today's society, a lot of kids are having a hard time with even controlling their own emotions. A lot of adults are having a difficult time controlling their emotions because they weren't given these resources to help them overcome their challenges or the feelings that they were feeling. They didn't feel like other people were out there having the same feelings, right? So in this book, they can see that I'm not alone. There are others feeling or going through what I'm going through. And that if there are others out there like me that are going through similar experiences, then I too can overcome these challenges like these people that have overcome them. Or I too can make a difference in my life and make a change. And once I can make that change internally, then you can start seeing it externally. You can start seeing it in your actions and your behaviors and the things that you do, right?
Mhm.
And then you will slowly see it trickle down to your friends or to a stranger or a neighbor, right? You'll slowly see all the positivity that you share or exhibit start showing in others, because others are now picking up on that positive vibe that you're giving off.
Mhm.
So I've gotten a lot of feedbacks in regards to these books, allowing them to change their um their feelings from how they used to negatively think, to thinking more positive and being more into hey, I can and I will and I shall,
Mhm.
because I am in control of everything that I do, and I'm the only one that can make a difference in my own life.
Your book. I will start off with the "It's My Hair, I Don't Care." Such a positive impact, influential book. And as you mentioned, even adults are coming to talk about this. And years ago, perhaps 7 or 10 years ago, there was a whole thing in corporate America or in the
Hmm.
corporate world where it was like dreads weren't allowed, or
Hmm.
your natural hair wasn't allowed because they didn't think it looked professional. Even in the
Hmm.
schools in North America, particularly, they would say children's hair had to be a specific way because it's uh, not necessarily professional, but it goes against the student code, or
Hmm.
there's a student
The
handbook.
code of
Yes,
hmm.
the code of conduct. And so there was a whole shift and a big conversation that quickly died down
Hmm.
about hair, but it hasn't fully died down because then what we gotten, and I remember before I retired from my last corporate position after I had my daughter. I took a leave of absence and then I retired. But I remember seeing a young woman, and she had her natural hair, but she didn't fully understood how to use it properly. or how to, how to fix it. And so people would talk to her, and I saw how they would approach her. I was like in a completely different department. I was helping other people, but she was great. She was an analyst. She had a great position doing all of these things. And at that time, everyone had to fill quotas. Um, I mean, these things are real, but
Oh, yeah.
yeah, they are. But at the same time, it was like how she would come about. Your two books are so timely that you could see she wasn't necessarily comfortable in her skin, not because she had to wear her natural, not because well, she actually chose to wear her natural hair, but it was like, how am I going to wear it? And then at the same time, presenting herself in a very male dominated
Mm-hmm.
Caucasian environment with as a black woman who is not the ideal size that you would normally see. So there's fears that's happening and hair that's happening. And your book is saying, love you, right?
Love you. Be your
Love
authentic
you.
self. Yep.
And you know what? Face those fears. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
like I wasn't friends with her. I just would see her obviously from time to time because of the nature of my work, and just say hi and stuff in passing, but you can always sense that from others when
Mm-hmm.
if they're confident or not confident. And I always thought to myself, why are we so ashamed of ourselves? And when I was in the military many moons ago, not that many moons ago, but it was like 10 years ago before I retired. My daughter's 7. So, yeah, about 10 years now since I retired. Um, I would have my natural hair and I would grow my natural hair and I use oils and stuff like that because I loved it. And I remember someone saying to me, "Oh, is that your real hair?" And I'm like, "Yes, yes, it is." Black people have that long hair too.
Mm-hmm.
We choose to either color it, cut it, do whatever it is
Yeah.
that we want to. Not all of us are wearing wigs, weaves, and all these things, even though there's nothing wrong with it. It's just part of the culture. And guess what? Every other culture does the same thing. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. But it's odd because it's like the minute we decide as a black culture to rock our natural hair, it's considered something that is not of the norm.
yeah,
But that's because for centuries and for years it's been blonde hair, right?
yeah,
Blonde hair, blue eye, long straight, right? That has been so expressed in society. But hey, here we are. Our hair is beautiful too. Our hair is very versatile. We can do it in many different ways, and that's the beauty about us as Black people. We have curly hair. We have hair that are very long.
mhm,
We have hair that is short. We have hair that comes in many different ways, textures, colors, whatnot. And just to put us in a box is what I think is pretty ignorant in a sense,
yes,
because it's just assuming that because we are black or because we wear weave or because we do these stuff that we don't have hair.
yeah,
But we do in fact have very beautiful long hair, and it doesn't matter how we wear our hair, it is still an extension of who we are.
mhm,
And it should be appreciated and accepted in whichever format that we do it in, and we should not be judged for it, because at the end of the day we're all unique and we're all different in different ways. And so judging us is basically removing that authenticity of who we are, and it's not allowing us to be expressive. And so I think that's where sometimes it trickles down to kids, because as parents, right, we want to hide ourselves because of the past,
mhm,
right, what we've gone through. And when we hide ourselves, we don't realize that our kids are sponges, so they pick up on it.
mhm,
And as they pick up on it, then they learn to not love themselves, and they learn not to love their hair, their
mhm,
image, and how they look, right? But for me as a parent, as I got older and ended up with my own kids, I realized that, going natural had helped me so much in my identity and realizing who I am. And I've seen how it has changed or affected my children in learning to love themselves. Even through the book that I wrote, it is like he was able to see on those pages that, you know, this is me.
yeah,
This says a lot of who I am. This says a lot of who, I was born to be. And I have to love myself. I have to be appreciative of who I am and who God created me to be. And in order for me to become or do anything in this life, that is what I have to do first. I need to love myself and my authentic, true self.
Mm-hmm.
And I keep saying authentic because as we get older, we lose that authentic, true identity of who we are because of society's norm. But once we are comfortable within ourselves, then as you said earlier, that fear
Mm-hmm.
decides to get smaller and smaller. And now we're not afraid to step out into the open with our authentic image.
Yeah, 100%. Ooh, I lit a fire in you when I mean, the fire was there, but then it just came to a roar, and I love it. I'm here for it. You first book talks about confidence, self love.
Mhm.
Second book, facing your fears, the naysayers,
Mhm.
the doubters, which includes yourself, because
Yep.
the biggest doubt
Yep.
comes from within. You are preparing to launch book 3. Tell us about
Yeah.
that one.
So book 3 is Alphabetically Me from A to Z. It's an affirmation book that basically allows children to start their day on a very positive note. The book basically highlights those expressions and feelings that you are supposed to be actually telling yourself, to allow yourself to now, I overcame my fear. Now, how am I going to keep myself from falling back into the trap of being closed off, right? Of not expressing myself. And in order to do that is now retelling yourself, retraining your mind that I am important, I am special, I'm amazing, I'm wonderful, I can do anything I put my mind to, and so forth. And so from A to Z, you have all these ways of looking at yourself as being great and reminding yourself how wonderfully made you are. Right. Self affirmation is such a wonderful thing because it, like I said, it's retraining your mind to basically think positive and not negative. And in a world like this, where we're constantly, sometimes as children, are fed negativity, whether it's from their friends, their teachers, or anyone, any peer from um, any space that they're in, right? They are now able to start their day on a positive note, reminding themselves, again, taking that control and reminding themselves of how wonderful they are and refeeding themselves the message that they can be great. And as they say, repetition is very important. So the more you tell yourself it, you start to believe it and see it, and then you start to exhibit it in your behavior and actions and things that you do. And so that's why, Alphabetically Me is such an important book because it affirms everything that you need to keep you going in life and in your day-to-day challenges that
Well,
you may face.
the book of Proverbs tells us train a child in the way he should go, and when he
Mhm.
grows up, he will not depart from it. I use the word he; it could be he or she too. It's for all children. Okay,
Mhm.
and that's what you're doing here. You're training, and you're starting at home. You're training
Mhm.
your child in the way that they should go. You're being intentional about laying the foundations.
Mhm.
People forget, many people, including parents, how
Yep.
you start the day, you set the tone. So
Yep.
you wake up and you're not directing your day, you're not directing your steps, you're not commanding your day, guess what? Someone else is going to do it for you. And if you don't
Yep.
teach your children the intentionality of it for they to start learning how to command their day, guess what's going to happen? They are going to be swayed like the wind and they have
Yep.
zero foundation to go on. So
To back.
these are not just books to say, oh well, I'm supporting a black author. I
Mm-mm.
care. I have advocacy. Beautiful. That's nice. This is
Mhm.
non nice. What this
Yeah.
is saying is that you're training your child intentionally,
Yeah.
specifically with authority, because you are the authority of your children, believe it or not,
Yep.
in the way that they should go. Then you are strategic in implementing the
Yeah.
characteristics of God in their life because it starts off with love. How do I love myself? Before I can love myself, I have to know myself. This is
Yep.
it's my hair, I don't care. So now There's that love characteristic that has to be cultivated, watered, nurtured. We're doing
Mm.
this through the book, through hair. And as I said, it's not just the external beauty. Then you
No.
move into the fear in me. Well, guess what? This is another characteristic, right? How do we be brave? What is the rock I am standing on? The rock is the foundation that your child is standing on, or yourself is standing on with the fear in me, right? And then shrinking that fear. And when you can shrink that fear, that second characteristic of courage, the courage to have, it means to have heart. That means you have to know yourself. You have to love yourself. And you also have to know what is the foundation or the rock you're standing on. And then third
Mhm.
step, man, it's like you thought about this. The third step here is with the I am affirmations. These are not wishy-washy. Well, I am. I am kind.
Mhm.
This goes deeper into now reaffirming who I am.
Yeah.
You could love yourself from here to the moon and back, but if you don't know who you are, if there is no substance to it,
You fall right back
you're
into.
falling
Mm.
right back and the fear
Yeah.
becomes even bigger.
Yeah.
It was like you thought about this process.
Yeah. And you know what? Like even with my two children, I make it, as you said, very intentional for them to know who they are, for them to recognize, so that when they do go to school, right, they're not easily shifted by their peers or
Hmm.
by the things that people might say to them that might hurt them, right? They're not easily shifted. They're able to remember all those things that were bred, that were mentioned over their lives, right? They're able to remember those positivity that they said to themselves, not just what I say, but
Hmm.
what they said to themselves. They're able to remind themselves, oh, wait, I am beautiful.
Hmm.
I am brave, right? And as they do that, like I said, it can trickle onto others. And I think that is so very important, because as you build your confidence, as you build yourself, right, your self-image and who you are as a person, the beauty of this is that the people that you are around, it gravitate to you because they see something different in you. They see something new. They see something that they themselves can't really achieve. And so it allows them now to have the opportunity to make that difference for themselves as well, because now they see something in you that they're intrigued by. And they too want to become not like you, but they too want to find a space uh, they want to find themselves. They too want to find themselves and get to that stage where they can also be happy. And I think that is so beautiful. Also, for my children, I try daily, we start our day on a positive note, also with even simple thing of going in a vehicle and on the way to school, praying and, asking God to lead their day, asking God to help them as they, start a brand new day, and asking Him to just cover them and to cover their mind and allow them to remember, those positive things that they have said over themselves. So you're right. We do have to be intentional with what we do to our children, but our children themselves have to be intentional with what they say to themselves and how they want to start their day and how they want to continue their day, and not allow things that people say to basically take over their mind and cause them to fall from what they believe.
Well, 100%. It's called train a child and train a child in the way he should go, and when he grows up, he shall not depart from it.
Yeah.
I agree 100%. I have a child. She is trained very specifically. I am very
Hmm.
clear into why we're doing what it is that we're doing, our morning routine, our night routine, any work that she's doing. You need to
Hmm.
understand the why you are doing it. And you gotta face the fear. The fear
Yeah.
is the ego. Why am I
Yeah.
doing what I'm doing? Well, I'm doing it because I'm expecting something in return, perhaps. Perhaps not, whatever. But when you can face it, especially when they are very young, as you
Hmm.
mentioned, Trisha, when it's hard. It's hard and challenging to shift them from that when they are alone. You forget. you and your children go to a program or in a school or whatever it is that they're doing, when you are not there, your voice is there. The
Mm-hmm.
foundation that you laid is there. And that's why Trisha created these books. Yes, she was inspired.
Yeah.
Yes, she's helping her family and her sons. But this is why the essence, the purity of it is that when they are out there now, oh, I I I am loved. They may falter and cry. They might hear something that they don't like. We all hear things that we don't like. People say things. People can be cruel. But am I going to sit in the corner and cry? Is this? That's
Mm-hmm.
not me. Oh, they said that's not me. They can quickly identify if something is them or not,
Yep.
and be able to move through the emotions and
Yeah.
release it a lot quicker than trying to hold on to it if they don't know, if they're not being trained appropriately. So these books are like supplements,
Mm-hmm.
supplemental books for families to
Yeah.
bond, build relationship, and aside from the Word of God, which is very, very important in my opinion to teach your children, it is that additional supplement to help them know who they are. It's that reinforcement of what is being taught in the home. And that reinforcement, as you talked about, Trisha, repetition, that reinforcement is that guiding principle. Oh, I can't remember what my mom said from the word, but I remember in I am amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't remember that, but I remembered I am amazing.
So, so there's this thing where the physical part as parents, right? We can physically love our kids. We can hug them. We can
Yes,
kiss them. We can tell them we love them every day. And not to say they don't feel it,
yes.
but it's a physical part,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
But a lot of times with children or even adults, it's a mental part that we don't come in connection with. Remember the inner feelings that we don't see, right?
Hmm.
And a lot of times kids are or adults are living with depression, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
Because they're not able to express those feelings or they can't really put their finger on what it is exactly that they're feeling,
Hmm. Hmm.
right? So it as important as it is to give the physical aspect of it, it is important for the child to also know how to verbalize it to themselves
Hmm.
internally because our brain it plays tricks on us. It tells us things it tells us things that we only heard right from other people
Hmm.
negatively, and so we tend to feed on it, right? We tend to it starts to play in our psyche, and then it starts to come out in us, and we start to say, oh my gosh, I can't do this, I can't do this, no, I can't, what if I do this, but what if I and so we start to basically talk ourselves out of things half the time, right? But once we get so comfortable with telling ourselves over and over and retraining that
Hmm.
mind,
Hmm.
retraining the mind is so very important that with their positive messages and reminding ourselves over and over and over on how great we are, we start to pick up on that. And so the noises of the negativity start to get so much smaller, and the positive message in you, your mind starts to now play on the positive aspect of it all. And so it's easier for a child now to tell themselves, I can. And
Hmm.
it's easier for the child now to step out and feel that love, because as much as parents, we can keep saying it,
Yeah.
but if they don't feel it for themselves,
Hmm.
it is not as effective,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So they need to feel it so that it doesn't lead them to,
Yeah.
situations in their life that they now regret, or that might lead to even worse situations that they can't even come out of,
That's right.
right? So that is why, alphabetically me from A to Z is so very important. Affirmations are so very important to, retrain that mind, retrain, pull out that filth that has been plastered in that mind for such a long time. And between the ages of, I think it's 3 to 8, it's such a very important time
Yeah.
where whatever you values and principles and lessons you've taught your child will will be
Yeah.
remembered. It will
100%.
travel with them for a very long time.
Hmm.
And so once they've passed that very important stage of their life, Now it's a retraining,
Hmm.
right? Now it's the mind literally has to be retrained so that it can get back to a stage of not feeling vulnerable, but feeling more confident and empowered that they can make a change within themselves and others.
Well, the fact is how we train them.
Yeah,
That foundation
yeah,
determines if they need to uproot
yeah,
that foundation when they reach a certain age, and or
yeah,
if they're going to build on it. One of the things
yeah.
I always share with my daughter, she's doing a 100-day challenge, and she's excited to do it. She's always like, "Oh, we're ready for this day. Oh, there's this day. If she's not well for a day, it's okay. Then it, we don't film certain things, but she's still engaging in um, the learning and the message uh, for that day. But and then we might record the next day because she's not. Yeah, she might be feeling tired. It's just with her body
Mm-hmm.
comes in a lot of pain sometimes. Uh,
Yeah.
but in saying that, people ask, "Oh, or when they get this age, they're going to be like that." I go, "Look, right now she's focusing on the virtues. This is not
Mm-hmm.
something that I now decide, well, maybe she's a kid. Yes, she's a child. But from before she was born, I've been intentional about what she's feeding, like spiritual, what food she's eating in terms of what she's
Mm-hmm.
hearing, what she's listening to, and really facing these fears head on. The intentionality, the vigilance, the
Mm-hmm.
awareness, the fact that I'm the mentor, because that's how you have to see yourself, and your parent, the
Yeah.
teacher, that is all there. Because I said, regardless of what happens,
Mm-hmm.
when she hits 10, 12, 14, I'm not going to be there every time, but
Yeah.
she's going to be there. And you know what else is going to be there? The training.
Mm-hmm.
That foundation is going to be there.
Yeah.
So she could find herself anywhere. But
Yeah.
before it can get past a point of like no return, well, there's always hope.
Yeah.
No, they will come back to themselves, and you see this all the time. Sometimes people are like, "Come in the car, let's go for a drive," and they might open the door, but something convicts them. They're convicted in their heart. They're convicted in their spirit.
This is
Close that
not.
door. Walk
Mm-hmm.
away. Go home. No, I gotta go home. And then next thing you know, they hear, "Oh, such and such is the case."
Yeah.
Sometimes we hear stories. There's an accident that happened, and so many other people were injured, but one person is fine, nothing
Mm-hmm.
wrong. And people are like, "What happened?" But then when you look back, their parents spoke life over them every
Yep.
single day,
Yep.
every single
Yep.
day, right? Oh, their mother is praying over them something, and
Yep.
and they're like, "But how is this possible?" Well,
God.
that foundation that was
Mm-hmm.
laid. And there's a
Yeah.
story, and you may know about this, but the young boy years ago who fell through the ice, and I shared this in Blessing Your Business. And his mother was a pillar in the community and in the church, and she would pray for her family. And she had an adopted son. She has an adopted son, but really her son. And this brings me back to, I'm tying this into your books and what you're doing, and the
Mm-hmm.
power of this intentionality. And on one of the coldest days in January of the year, her son fell through ice. She
Mm-hmm.
literally spoke to her son. She hung up the phone, and her son fell through the ice. Literally
Wow.
fell through the ice. Now, his friends didn't fall through the ice. He fell through the ice.
You did.
She was, and then on the way, they call her like 15 minutes later. She's praying, right? She's praying on the drive. They couldn't find her son, but she's praying on the drive. They told all the rescuers, come out of the water. And it's time to come in. It's too cold. You guys have been out there for like 15 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever. You can't. One of the rescuers heard turn around. So he thought his boss said, come back, like turn around, because everybody was turning it, like going back. And he thought his
Mm-hmm.
boss said, stay, like turn around. But his boss didn't tell him that. And he turned around, and then he turned around. He had his like 10-foot pole, and boom, he found this boy who was underwater for about 20 minutes. Right? So freezing
Mm-hmm.
cold. So he drowned. They took her son to the hospital. This mother is praying. She prays before he leaves the house. He was teenager, so we all know what's going on with teenagers,
Mhm.
right? And they worked on her son for an hour and a half. She goes to the hospital, waiting. The doctor comes out after an hour and a half working on her son and said, "Ma'am, we're going to step out. Come and tell your son goodbye." She walked in that room, held, and this is a true story, you guys could look this up, held her son's feet and said, "Holy Spirit, come, please give me back my son."
Mm.
Heartbeat starts right away. Now, I'm not making the story up, people. Like, this is actually true. And I talked about the
Mhm.
blessing your business and the power of a mother and the power of prayer. And
Prayer.
when we set our intentionality for the day. Now, it didn't matter what was going on with her son. She prayed for her son. She blessed her son. He knew it. He was going through self-identity crisis, like, well, I'm adopted and I'm Spanish and you're Caucasian. Like, he was going through all of these things and all of this confusion as well as being a teenager. But his mother stayed the course and she reminded him, "You are my son. I love you." She did all of
Mhm.
that. Heartbeat count. The head of the hospital shows up and tell her, "Ma'am, your son may not live, and if he does wake up, he's going to be a vegetable."
Mhm.
Pull the plug. She did not listen to anybody. Her husband's there praying too. She did not listen to nobody. She went back to the Lord in prayer. And she's like, "You gave me my son. You told me this. Your word tells me this." Like, she's going back to what she read every day, the life she spoke every day, kind of like your affirmations, right? That reinforcement. And within a week, he woke up like nothing happened. He had good memory. Oh, this
Wow.
doctor's report says there's no way her son's brain should have been protected like that because of the temperature of the water. He should have been a vegetable. He should have been brain dead. But they said, like, on the scans, everything that they did, his brain was protected. His, like,
But
miraculously, his brain was protected. Yes.
from that story, what I gather, it's not, and even to go back to the book,
Yeah.
what I gather, it's not just prayer does great thing, but it's also believing.
Yes.
It's believing when you're praying, because what I took from what you're saying is she prayed, but she believed.
Oh,
She
yeah.
believed and knew that God was going to,
Yes.
revive her son. God was going to make a change and,
Yes.
and a difference. And if I go back to the book in that sense, is it boils down to, you're saying these affirmations, but you have to, over time and repetition, you start believing it, right?
Yes.
And once you believe it, right, it's such great things that can happen. She believed that God was going to heal her son,
Yes.
and God healed her son. She believed that he was going to wake up, and he woke up. She didn't take death as the
Mm,
final answer,
mm,
right? Because she believed and knew that God's word
mhm.
said that we shall live, that if we believe in his word,
Yeah.
right? And she believed, and therefore she received, right? And so that's why it is also so important that even though you recite it, even though you're saying this prayer, if you're not actually acting and believe in it, it is not going to come to life. You have to actually believe what you are saying
Mhm.
in order for it to start to become life and become a root that grows in you and develop into something great, right? We can't just keep being on this ground of, hey, I can do it, but then still have the self-doubts. No, I
Mhm.
can do it. And you got to move with it. As you said, I can do it. I can do all things. Okay, I'm going to walk in faith.
Right.
But I'm going to believe
Right.
that whatever I put my foot on to do, I will accomplish it, and it will come to life, and I will achieve that which I set out to do.
Yeah.
Right. So that's what I notice about the story that you just mentioned, is that mother believed. She believed God's word. She believed in the prayers that she's placed over her son for
Yes.
so many years. And she knew that this was not the final answer,
That's right.
that God was going to make a way.
100%. 100%. And and that's why earlier when we were talking about the intentionality, the authority that we have over our children's lives, and your books are
Hmm.
that, as I mentioned earlier, reinforcing everything, because your son, my daughter, may not remember every specific prayer that we prayed, but they'll remember, oh, I am bright.
Mm-hmm.
I am powerful. And then, oh, I'm powerful. Oh, wait, God's in me. Wait, there's
Mm-hmm.
that. So they start making all of these connections, and so, but these are foundational works that has to get done. So as you mentioned, it can grow strong. So then, whatever happens when your child hits 10, 11, maybe they're on an app that they're not supposed to be on, or and someone's trying to talk to them or something. Some people take these things for granted. Your child can say, nope, right? Your child
Yeah.
can say, I got to delete this. They'll be convicted in their very spirit
Yeah.
because you have done the foundational work. And then you can, like, anyways, I could go on, and it's already 55 minutes
Trust
mark.
me.
Yeah,
Oh God.
we're good.
I want to add that I
Yeah,
know I'm like you. I can go on and on and
yeah,
on, but I just wanted to add that even with the mistakes that they make throughout life, right? The mistakes are just it's just looked at as just a simple stumbling block till they get to where they need to get to,
that's right.
right? And as they take those steps and they make those mistakes along the way, they're still going to remember that foundation, like you said, that they were built upon, right? And that foundation is what's going to help them to catapult over those mistakes and not give up, but instead try to formulate different ideas and plans on how to, overcome, but how to get to the next.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. How can we get in contact with you?
So to get in contact with me, you can either email me at creativekhan@hotmail.com. You can also find me on Instagram, Tricia T. Khan. And I'm also, my books are available on Amazon if you type in my name, Tricia Khan,
Yeah.
or any book title.
Yes. That's great. And people, please know that information will be put in the comments for this. So you just click down and you can go straight either to Trisha's Instagram. She has or Amazon. That link will be there too to get in contact with her and to follow her. Thank you, Trisha, so very much for being here today, for lighting a fire for
Mm.
all of us, not only for ourselves, but for our children, for the next generation. Um,
Yeah.
thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank
You're,
you so much for having me again.
you're so
I
welcome.
truly love it.
You're welcome. You're welcome. If you guys enjoyed this episode, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you next week for another episode of the Conscious Leader Podcast. Bye.